All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in our 1 hour session. I know my topic looks a little different today, and that's simply because all the time, the trainings that I do, I cover skills because that's what I do. I'm a soft skills trainer, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. But today, I wanted to do something different, which I sometimes do in some of my training programs as well. And which is why our title is called Why We Do What We Do, right? We want to today try to understand what human motivation is and how that's going to help us in our work, in our relationships with people, and in life in general. So I won't call it really a tool, and it's not really a skill, but it's something that you can use to work on to help you better your relationships with people around you. So I'm going to build upon that as we go along. Now, just a couple of important things first before we start. Sorry about that. Now, if you are in your chat, all right, just say hello so I know that everyone is there. It's okay if you have your videos off, but it'll be nice if one or two or a couple of you have your videos on, so it will seem like I'm talking to some people as well, and where I can see your facial expressions and I can get some visual reactions as well. But you don't have to all have it. I understand some of you are probably at home and you're not probably in a position to have your cameras on, but that is okay. But if you do have your laptops or phones with you and you can switch on your cameras, please have your cameras on. However, I would appreciate if you could all mute yourselves so that there is very minimal interruptions in this next 1 hour. All right, so we're good with that. Just say hello in the chat so that I know that there's people there and there's people that are reacting, so that the more energy you give me, the more energy I can let out to you as well.
Hi, Dave.
Hello, hi, welcome, Lily.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Okay, so we're going to start right now, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. This is basically some of the certifications that I've done. That's it. Next. Right, now if you look at some of the logos that you see here, I just want to bring your attention to the logos on your right side, which is basically the area that I'm going to talk on today, which is on the emotional drive and motivation, right? And the one below it, AIOBP, is basically the American Institute of Business Psychology, and that's also where I am a member, and basically part of what I studied. The main organization or psychology that I studied was a psychology called DC psychology. So you can Google that and learn more about DC, the tools, and how it differentiates from a lot of other tools that are out there in the market. There are many good tools out there in the market, but my favorite right now is DC because it has really impacted me, impacted the people I've worked with, and a lot of difference I see in those tools. And that's what I want to talk to you today about, one of the many tools that DC has created. Now, I would like to talk a bit about my book. Now, it may sound like I'm promoting my book, but I am not. Now, last year in July, I wrote my first book entitled 8 Vital Skills to Succeed at the Workplace. Now, I just mentioned that I'm not promoting the book, although you know I am, but the reason I'm showing you this slide because it fits into the bigger picture of what we are talking about today, right? Which you will probably understand at the end of this session, right? When I talk about human emotions and emotional drivers, you will understand then why I started this presentation today by showing you this slide. So today you're going to find out what my emotional drivers are. I will share with you what my drivers are. And by the end of this 1 hour, you are going to find out what your drivers are as well. If you get involved in the activities that we're going to do in a short while, you will find out what your emotional drivers are and what they can do for you, right? Now, so why are we here today? We are all here because we want to learn something. We want to listen to something that's probably going to help us in our work. It's going to help us gain some new knowledge. So knowing the emotional drivers, our topic for today, right, is going to help you break communication barriers. Just as we covered yesterday, if you remember, for those of you who attended Lily Lau's presentation on colored brain, okay, we talked about, or she talked about rather, colored brain and how it helps improve communication. So that's also what I'm going to talk about today. How to get along better with people around you. They can be your family, they can be your friends, your neighbors. They could be a stranger, someone on the street, someone who's driving along you in traffic, right? So how do you get along with them, or how do you communicate with them when we get angry when they cut us in queue, for instance? Okay, so we'll come to all that. How to improve teamwork. This is also going to help you in handling teams and team members and your colleagues, your peers, your subordinates, and even your larger company, meaning including your management, the leadership of your company. In fact, if you are a manager today, it is also going to help you in your leadership style, how you're going to engage with your colleagues, with your subordinates, and how you're going to lead them or manage them, as we call it. So this is basically the big picture of what we want to cover today. Now, I'm going to start off by talking about psychometric tools. Now, I know my topic today is not, right? Because emotional driver is not a psychometric tool. But what is psychometric tools? Can you all type it in the chat right now? Some of the psychometric tools that you have heard of, or that you have used, or maybe your company sent you for one before, or you actually enrolled in one or did it online. Can you go ahead and type in the chat? What are some of the tools that you have used? Are we good? Because it said that my internet is stable. Say, yeah, okay, so we colored brain, Danish, yes. Oh, that's heard of that. Yeah, COSTRAC, MBTI, yeah, Enneagram, DISC, Thomas Kilman. Yeah, very good. Okay, we have heard of some of these. Some are more common than the other. Some are probably more particularly popular in certain, and some are probably more popular in certain industries. Okay, but having said that, a scientific way of finding out your behavior, and you use that behavior to basically yourself better, so that you can, it's more like a self-awareness tool, right? And today we're not going to talk about so much about psychometric tools, because my to what I spoke yesterday, Dennis mentioned in the chat, is psych. So I'm going to link it so you can see how, while psychometric tool helps you, there is also a bigger picture. Psychometric tools is not going to answer all your questions. It's not going to solve all your problems. However, if you combine your psychometric tool, whichever tool that you're using, together with the emotional drivers that we are going to discuss today, you will see that it's going to make a whole bigger difference in how you relate to people and how you communicate and get along with people. And like I said, this can be people, it can be your family, it can be your wife, your partner, your spouse, it could be your children, or even your friends and your colleagues, of course. So you can use this at the workplace. You can also apply this at home, right? And in life in general. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to just have a quick poll, right? And in this poll, I have 2 questions that I'd like y'all to answer, and you should be able to see the poll appearing in your screens right now. Now, question 1 is, have you heard of psychometric tools? So we just want to get a feel of the crowd and the audience we have with us today, and we just want to know what generally the crowd is like. Maybe some of us may not have heard of a psychometric tool, let alone used one. So go ahead. I'll just give you another 10 seconds to answer the 2 questions. There's a second question at the bottom. Please take a look at the second. Okay, so you can see the percentages changing. I will show you the results in just a moment. Another 5 seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now so that you can see the results. And you see the results on your screen right now? Yes, okay. Now, for the first question, have you heard of psychometric tools? In our crowd, we have about 2/3 almost who have heard of psychometric tools. We have 74%, and we have about 26%, 1/3, that has not heard of psychometric tools. So it doesn't matter whichever end of the spectrum you fall into, this will be a good time for you to know about what psychometric tools are if you have not heard of it. And for those who have heard of it, this is a good time to kind of see what emotional drivers can do to add on to the psychometric tool that you are already using. So let's look at what are more popular ones that people have heard of. We have Myers-Briggs, I believe, with 57%, Colored Brain 57% on a tie, DISC a close second with 48%, and then we have the rest. We have Leonard, we have BTRI, color profiling. Now, like I said, this is not a comprehensive list. I didn't want to put every psychometric tool out there to complicate you. I've just listed out some of the common ones, some of the ones I have heard of, because there's also some that I have not heard of. Yeah. So as you can see, there are a lot of different tools out there, and each of it serves a different purpose. And for today's example, or for today's talk, I want to link what we are going to talk about, right, to Colored Brain, which is what Lily Lau spoke about yesterday. So you would have got a very good idea for those who attended Lily Lau's session yesterday. But for those who didn't, right, I am going to do a quick summary in one slide on what Colored Brain is all about. So we're going to start off with Colored Brain is a psychometric profiling tool, just like the rest that we saw. However, Colored Brain also helps you with effective communication. So by understanding and using this tool, by getting tested and getting your results, you get a self-awareness of what color you are. And there are 4 colors, as you can see on the little color of the brain at my top right of your screens. You will see that you could be either red, blue, purple, or green. So what is Colored Brain? It's the genetic processing of the world around you. Now, all of us were basically born. It's an innate quality, if I may call it. We were born with one primary color. Now, we have talked about 4, but each one of us will have one primary color. So you're either red or a blue or a purple or a green. So I, for instance, am a purple. I'll explain very quickly in 1 or 2 sentences what the different colors are, just for those who did not attend the session yesterday. So whichever color you are, that is your genetic color. That is the color you were born with. So no matter what happens, push comes to shove, you're always going to fall back or rely back on that primary color that you are, because that's your genetic makeup, so to speak. So you can learn to be another color. So if I'm purple, I can learn to be green, learn behavior. I can learn to be red because of my boss. My boss used to be very red. So because I'm in that environment, all right, I pick up those qualities or those way of doing things. But put me in a situation where my boss is not around, chances are I would go back to being a purple, right? So remember, it's your genetic processing, it's your makeup. And this is something I need to mention, you cannot change. If you are born green, you are going to be green for the rest of your life. You may think you're red, you may behave like a red, but you will always be a green. So I hope that's clear. So Colored Brain, or in this case, helps the brain get clarity. So if you are green is the only way you are going to get clarity. Total clarity, that is. And why Colored Brain is going to help you? Because in the workplace, it will help you in your teams. It will help you with your management, your leadership, getting along with people, communication. So you're going to have less conflicts and a whole bunch of other things, right? So just a quick summary, then I can start with my topic today. The red brain, for those who didn't attend yesterday, is where you process things in a linear way. Basically, you need to have a structure. Everything needs to be logical. I'll give you one example which I can use for all the 4 colors. I'll come to that. Green is chaotic processing. So the way you process things almost seems that you didn't think about things, you didn't plan anything, you just kind of jump into things and start doing whatever it is that you are doing. The blue brain is very intuitive. So basically everything's about feelings, everything's about emotions, and what you think, what you feel, and it's about people and intuition basically. Last but not least, purple, I'm a purple brain, is relational processing. A person who just needs a lot of data. A person who just needs a lot of data before they can actually do anything. And a person who is purple, not only you need a lot of data, this data needs to be somehow connected even. If I cannot make sense of the data, if there's no clear distinction or relation between the data, I cannot begin to do work. Right? So I'm going to give you one quick example to link up these 4 colors. So just kind of to prepare you and to make you understand a little bit about this profiling tool. Now, let's say you were asked or given the task of painting a room, right? And you are now a red brain person. So guess what a red brain is going to do when you ask this person to paint a room? Before he even starts, right, he's probably going to measure the room. He's going to measure the paint, right? He's going to make sure that the tools and the equipment are all ready and the paint is sufficient to cover the room before he even begins work, because he needs to see some logic, some structure before starting work or before doing anything. Now that moves me to the second color, which is green, chaotic. A green person needs action before they can do anything else. They need to jump and dive right in. So guess what a green brain would do when tasked to paint a room? He would immediately start painting the room, only to probably later find out that the paint was not sufficient to cover the perimeter of the room. However, the green has got their own qualities as well. They're usually very creative and very innovative because they jump right in. And as a result, they make a lot of mistakes, but they also recover from these mistakes pretty fast. And because of that, they get a lot of ideas because they don't really want to plan a lot of things. They just want to, let their imagination go wild and just start. But they make a lot of mistakes because they don't plan, right? So the green will recover very fast, and they could, at the end, be very, innovative or very brilliant as a result of those mistakes. Someone like Einstein probably is a green brain. I never met him, so we never did the test with him. But he's probably green brain because he did a lot of experiments. A lot of them went wrong, but a lot of good things also came out of it as we know it. So blue, if a blue was tasked with painting the room, what do you think a blue would do? Come on, let's type that in the chat to see if anyone can guess what a typical blue brain person would do before painting the room, now that you know red and green. Anyone? Okay, is anyone not typing, or am I not seeing anything? Or you just don't know? Okay, he will feel, according to May, he will feel the environment and decide which best color to go. How many people is required? Now, how many people is required would be more of a red, Raymond, right? So I think May has got it spot on, right? Because he wants to feel and understand, what color shall we use? Maybe a lilac would be better. He would probably ask you, what color do you like? Because he's about people and feelings. And if he had workers around with him, he would probably ensure that his workers have all had their meals and they were all okay to start working and they're all up to it. So this is how a blue person would process intuition. Last but not least, the purple brain. Again, a purple brain here, relational data. They need lots of information. So they would start collecting, getting more input from the person who has asked them to paint the room. Like, what color do you want? Why do you want this? Blah, 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 and get all the information. And once they have all the information, then they will start working. Right? Then only they will start with their tasks at hand. So now that we've understood the summary of a colored brain, all right, thanks for all your answers. Danish, you've answered, Deborah, Kelvin, right? So today our topic is, our topic today is going to be on emotional drivers, which determines why we do what we do, which is the topic for our talk today. So today I want to start by explaining something to you. Like I said, I'm not teaching you today. I just want to share this knowledge with you because I believe it will help you whether you're trainers or not in this group. I personally believe it's going to help improve your relationships with the people around you. So let's start by understanding what the 8 drivers are. And once you get that into your brain, then we can move on with what they do and how they're going to impact you and others. So we're going to start with the first one. Now, the first driver is called love and belonging, or belonging and love. Now, if you had love and belonging as your top driver or your top 3 drivers, which is what we're going to look at, okay, it simply means you are more of that social person. You are that person that needs to be connected with others. You need to be connected with another human being. You need to be connected and have. So if you were to go out for dinner, chances are if you were to go out for dinner alone, you would probably call a friend while you're there alone, because you're not the type who just wants to be alone, right? I'm probably a type of person who doesn't mind eating alone. And in fact, many times when I'm out, I am eating alone, right? Unless I bump into a friend. So, but a person with love and belonging, emotional driver, has the very strong urge to have constant connection. So if they traveled somewhere, for example, from Malaysia to, let's say they flew to the Philippines. Now the moment they arrive, they would call back home, either to their spouse or to their parents, and say, hey, guess what? I've already landed safely and I'm on the way to the hotel. Because they need to have that constant connection with being with others, whether physically or not. They need love, they need belonging. Now, having said that, please note that it doesn't mean that if this is not your driver, that you have no love or no belonging. I'll come to that in a short while. The second driver is control and security. Here is where you want to maintain a security in your life. And the security can come in the form of investments. It is basically that you just want everything to be under control, right? It could be either you want investments or you want to make sure everything is taken care of, so there's no surprises. So you are the type who's very particular about your retirement fund, your children's college fund. Now, I'm not saying the rest of us this is not important. It may be, but it may not be as important as it may be for some people. So once you identify your drivers, then you will know where this falls in the spectrum. Let's come to that in a bit. Number 3, diversity. Diversity is a person, if this is your driver, then you are the type of person who just wants variety and excitement in everything that you do. So variety and excitement can come in any forms. Maybe you just like to try a different food, or you like to meet different people from different cultures and speak various languages and travel, and you just like variety. Even if you're driving, you probably take a different route to work or to wherever you're going every time you go to that destination. It's not that you'll get bored, but you just like diverse stuff. You like probably doing bungee jumping and doing things that is not really common among most people, right? But this is what drives you. Number 4, recognition is where you like to be acknowledged for something that you have done, for your achievement. You like to be noticed. So when you have recognition, you are the type of person that if you do a good job, you want to tap on your shoulder, someone to come and say, well done. I like the way you handle that customer. I like the way you closed that deal. You're the type, when you go for, say, a training program, you would probably save your certificate. You would frame it up and put it on the wall behind you, because you like that feeling of being recognized. You may call it show off. It's not show off, because this is what's important to you. It may not be important to me, but it is important to you, that you have that need to be recognized, that I've achieved this, I've done this, and you want people to notice and acknowledge that fact. Achievement. Achievement is where you need to have progress in what you do, progress in your life, progress in your career. For example, you learned a new skill or maybe you learned cooking, for instance. You never could cook, and now you have learned cooking. That's an achievement because you have progressed from one stage to another. You're a little better than you were yesterday. So achievement is a driver for some people. They need to constantly have the need to move on, the need to progress, the need to develop, the need to achieve, right? I'll tell you what my 3 are once we are done with the following exercise. Number 6, challenge and growth. Now, challenge and growth means that this driver, if you have this driver, then you have that constant need to improve, constantly need to learn and grow yourself as a person. So you're probably the type that, you enroll in all kinds of training programs and certifications. You would go as far as you can and spend as much money as you possibly can in order to achieve that, right? Now, when I did one of my certifications for DC, I traveled all the way to Bali, and I had to stay away from my family for almost 10 days. Now, to be honest, this is the longest, all right, I had to travel for a certification program, also known as a short course. But why did I do that? Because for me, I want to constantly learn and grow so that what I offer my participants is also constantly improved, right? So as you can see, challenge and growth is a driver for certain people. Number 7, second last one, excellence. A person who has excellence has the need to self-satisfy themselves in terms of the work they do. So whatever they do, you may call it trying to be a perfectionist, but it's really not. It is really not. It is more of whatever they do, it just needs to be the best they can do. So for example, if they were to say type you a document, most of your staff would probably just follow your instructions and type you that document. Now, a person with high excellence or driver being excellence would probably print that in color, beautify that document a little bit, will ensure that the margins are all equalized, the line spacings are equalized before they submit, because it's a feeling that they want to have that they did their best before they gave you anything. It could be cooking, or it could be work, it could be anything, but everything is done with excellence because the excellence is important to them. Not necessarily to the receiver, but in this case, from the giver. Last but not least in any way is responsibility. Another word we use is contribution. So contribution is where you have the need to contribute constantly to others, to the society. It doesn't have to necessarily be just welfare. It could be your colleagues, right? It could be in terms of sharing knowledge with someone. It could be donating money to someone. It could be helping charities, helping to build orphanage homes. In any way that you contribute, either in time or in kind, yeah, it is you wanting to give back to people, right? In fact, I'm not sure if my sister, yes, she is. She's actually in here, and we did this test sometime last year, and her number one driver was contribution. And I'll tell you how we arrived at that in a short while. So now that we have understood what the 8 drivers are, we're going to do a little test. Okay? Now I want you all to imagine that you have just received $1 million. Just listen to my voice. I've turned off my video that was done by design. So imagine you have received $1 million. It could be a jackpot. You just found in your account one day when you put in your ATM card. The point is you have $1 million. Now, for a few moments, what I want you to do is take a while to just think about it and tell me, either in the chat, but I would prefer you did this on paper, but if you don't have a paper with you right now, you can use the chat. Because the idea is I don't want to know about this right now or as yet. Now list down 5 things that you would do with that money. And I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm counting down. Go ahead, take your time. You have 1 minute. List down 5 things you will do with the 1 million US dollars. So that's approximately 4.2 or 4.3 million ringgit. Go ahead. On a piece of paper, you don't have to put it in the chat because this is not for me now. This is your personal exercise. You are going to imagine what you are going to do with your money. No one else has a say except you yourself. Now, you can always do this exercise later. You might come up with a different answer, right? So I don't want to rush this, but at the same time, I don't want to take my time as well. So whatever answers that you have, I just want you to keep it aside for a while, right? Some of you have said, Danish has said he'll buy a beautiful house near a beach. He'll buy a sports car. Lily says she would use that money to go for a holiday. And Danish also says he will travel a lot. So I believe holiday as well. Now, the rest of you, if you've written this down somewhere, either on your phones or your computer or on a piece of paper, I just want you to put that aside. We'll come back to that in a while and we will discuss it as to why you wrote those answers. So now look at the results that you have come up with. And what I want you all to do is I want you to prioritize the 5 items. So you have written 5 items on your list, right? You have written 5 items. Now I want you to move those items up or down and prioritize it. So which is like the number 1 thing you will do. Some of you have already written it in a prioritized list or a prioritized manner. But for those who didn't, just kind of move it around or maybe renumber it. Which is your actual number 1? Like which would you do right now? What would you go out and do right now? Okay, some of you are writing on your phone, so it's already with priority. Okay, so appreciate that. So now that you have your 5 items on your list, okay, you can actually, or we will actually do some mind reading, or at least it will seem like it's mind reading. Okay, so I'm going to come back to your 8 emotional drivers that we talked about a couple of minutes ago. Now, what I want you all to do is I want you to look at your list. And I want you to compare those 5 items that you have with what you have on this list. And from there, and what I explained to you a while ago about love and belonging, right down to contribution or responsibility, you can quickly determine what your top 5 items were. So for example, if you said, I would like to go for a holiday, like Lily Lau mentioned just now in the chat. So holiday would most likely be either it could be achievement, or if she's going with a spouse or family, then the holiday could actually be love and belonging as well, because you want to spend time with your loved ones, right? So what were the other answers we had? Okay, Danish earlier mentioned, I want to buy a sports car. So what do we think sports car mean? Can anyone type in the chat right now, which driver do you think buying a sports car satisfies or fulfills? Which driver does buying a sports car fulfill out of the 8 drivers that we talked about? Could be recognition. Thanks, Sonia. Calvin says achievement. Yes, just want to show you that I have improved. Okay, so recognition and achievement are the answers. Can be excellence as well, yes, because everything I do must be the best. So I want to drive the best car. I want to have the best house. Okay, so, well, it can also be growth in a way, yes. Right? It can also be growth, right? Because you want to show again that it is an improvement. So what I want you to do right now, this is your little exercise. Sorry. What I'd like you all to do is to actually take the 5, make sure you have written down which of these drivers that are your top 5 drivers. We are only going to concentrate on 3. You have already prioritized your 5 items. I would like you to now just look at what each item you wrote compares with against this 5. So do you get a lot of love and belongings? Do you have, sometimes you may have 3, like my sister, for instance, when she listed the 5, like 4 of it were responsibility and contribution, because that was what drives her. So for you guys, you tell me what are your 5 emotional drivers. And when you have ranked them, all we want to do right now is to look at the top 3. So for instance, your top 3 could be belonging, control, and excellence. Now, when you have determined those 3, only the top 3 I want. Can you type it out in your chat right now? I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. So you need to type all 3. So Calvin has got control, growth, and belonging. Anyone else? So now let's just take Calvin's for an example, because he has mentioned belonging, control, and growth are the 3 drivers. Now, if I know, thanks Raymond for your answers as well. In Raymond's case, it's security, achievement, and contribution. Sonia has just mentioned love and belonging, control, and responsibility. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll take Calvin's as an example because he was the first, I think, to respond. So for Calvin, love and belonging, family time with people is very important. Having control and security is very important, and having constant learning and growth is important. Now imagine what I can do if I know that this is what's important to Calvin. How would that change my relationship or my understanding of Calvin? If tomorrow Calvin tells me I want to travel to the UK just to get just to attend a 3-day course on a certification, a short course. Now, before today, if I did not know Calvin's top drivers, I would probably be making judgments. I'm like, Calvin, why are you wasting so much of money? Why do you want to travel so far? Who in the world actually travels all the way to the UK for a 2-day or a 3-day course, right? So I might say things like this, which will make Calvin react to me, and then I will react back, and then it becomes kind of like a vicious cycle, and it gets into conflict. But now that I know it's important for Calvin to grow, when he tells me that he wants to go to UK for 2 days, guess what? I can understand him better. I'm going to react less, right? And my relationship hence with Calvin would be improved. I know it's important for him to spend time with his family. I know it's important for him to grow. I know it's important for him to achieve. So by understanding, we always only look at the top 3, right? Yes, we have 8, but the 3 are your primary drivers. These are the 3 that drives you to do what you do. Now I'm going to move on to the next slide, because most of us, I believe, are from the corporate world. We are trainers, we work in organizations. So let's look at how knowing someone's drivers, the 8 drivers, relates back to the workplace. Now you can already see how this relates back to life in general, how it relates back to your family and friends. But how does this relate in the workplace? I'll go through one by one very quickly. For love and belonging, I'm reading from the slide. You can see that if you have love and belonging for the people around you, you're going to be personally supportive. You're going to care for your colleagues. You're going to care if someone doesn't get their work done. You're going to help them. You're going to find out why they could not do it and help them with whatever knowledge you have. Okay, and you like being around people, whether it's going out for lunch or meetings. You like the get-togethers. A person with controlled security, you'd want to be in control. So you take charge of meetings. You take charge of driving the meetings and the conclusions. You always want to have a say. You want to talk. You might be seen as someone who is talkative and a control freak, but that's not the reason why you do it, because you just like to take charge. You like things to be in control because it's a driver for you. Diversity is a person who just likes flexible working hours. So for someone who has diversity in their top 3, working from home, the MCO that we have right now, is probably something that is not really affecting you so much. in terms of the work from home itself. I don't mean the virus. Because you like this flexibility. Whereas to another person where diversity is not in their top 3, working from home is something totally new, and they're really trying to get used to it, and they probably don't like it because they don't have diversity as their top 3. Recognition, again, quite straightforward, I believe. In the office, you want to be recognized for whatever you have done, the way you've handled the customer, perhaps. Achievement, again, it's task oriented. You want to make sure tasks are completed on time so that you can progress in your projects, for instance. Learning and growth is ability to relate to others, interest in personal development. So you're the type that you expect your company to send you out for trainings, send you out for your personal development to go learn, conferences, etc. Excellence simply means you have high work standards. You need an environment that promotes that because you want to show that you can be excellent at what you do. In contribution is a person who just likes to share, right? You like to share your knowledge. You like to help people because you just like to give back to people without expecting anything back necessarily. You just want to be able to give. People who have other drivers as their top 3 might look at you as, like, again, a show off or trying to be, Mother Teresa. Why are you trying to help everyone all the time? Like, don't you have your own things to take care of? But a person with the top driver of contribution, that is what drives them. You got to remember. So now that we have identified our top 3 drivers, okay, the question that we want to now link back to colored brain is this. Earlier when we started, we said that colored brain is genetic. You are born with that brain, with that color, and that's not going to change. However, it's important to note that with emotional drivers, okay, it is going to change based on the environment. It can also change as you grow up. It can change as you move from one company to another. It can change when you move from one country to another, right? So it is going to basically change. It's going to constantly change. Last year, I had 3 different drivers. This year, I have 3 different drivers. Probably since MCO, 18th of March in Malaysia, possibly some of my drivers may have changed. So those can alter based on your environment, based on your situation. Okay, let me give you one very quick example. Now, I live in Malaysia, and let's say next year I was moved to Singapore, right? So, and I'm now based there in Singapore with my family. So I meet new people, I work with different people. And as I meet new people and work with them, some of my drivers may change because I might look at some people and say, why is these people learning so much, trying to grow, going for all kinds of programs? And I kind of start doing that. And I kind of start liking that as well. And then I'll realize that, hey, learning and growth has now suddenly become very important to me. So just to let you know that your drivers can change, right? You may have 3 primary drivers, but sometimes they can move in terms of ranking. They may not move too much or too drastically, but they can move. Now just imagine for a second, how are you with your friends? What are your top 3 drivers with your friends? What are your top 3 drivers with your colleagues? And what are your top 3 drivers with your family? Maybe in your family, right, love and belonging is number 1, right? Maybe achievement and recognition is not so important. But maybe with your colleagues, recognition is number 1. You just want your colleagues to say, wow, you are the best. You are very good at this. You're very good at software. You're very good at design. You're very good at public speaking, whatever it may be. So you can see just from this list that your drivers for different situations can already be different. So each environment, I'm reading from the slide, each environment fulfills different emotional drivers. Now, a very important or very interesting thought, food for thought. If people in an organization, for instance, have the same vision, then why can't we achieve it? For instance, your boss comes up and says, this is the vision of our company, or this is the new direction that we are taking in 2020. So why is it that we don't necessarily achieve it? Because sometimes we fail to realize the people in that group, the people in that organization, all come with different purposes or different motivational drivers. Let me give you one quick, simple analogy for you to understand this point. Now, let's say you're the head of a family and you have just taken your family for a holiday. You say, all right, guys, come, we're going to spend 1 week in Langkawi. All right. Now, you have planned what you want to do in that holiday, but when you arrive there, guess what? Your daughter probably just wants to go by the beach and take some selfies and post them on Instagram. Right? Your son just spends the whole time at the gym. Your wife probably just wants to go shopping. And there you are, wondering why is everyone doing their own thing? And it's going to cause you to react. And what you are going to do most of the time is you are going to react. You're going to suddenly have a family meeting and say, guys, what's going on? Okay, we spend so much of money to bring all of you here so that we can do ABC. Now, the ABC is what you wanted. We did not consider what the rest of them want. Okay, so understanding in what drives other people will allow you to give them what they want, so they can achieve what they want. They are drivers. Okay, I hope that makes a bit of sense. I want to move into something where I just spoke about, which has got to do with reaction. I think it's important to note that our brain has got many parts. For those of you who have studied the brain, you'll know what I'm talking about. You have the neocortex, you've got the limbic part, the part that deals with language and reasoning and all that. But I want to zoom into one area of your brain, and that is the reptilian part. The reptilian part of your brain is also the part that does a lot of things, but I'm going to move into one little thing today, the fight or flight part that I'm going to talk about today. Now, imagine you're walking by on a pavement, and suddenly a car comes zooming past you at a very high speed. Okay, what are you going to do? And it comes like barely 1 inch away from you. What are you going to do at that moment? You're just going to jump to the side, isn't it? Jump to safety. Will you at that time start reasoning and say to yourself, okay, this car is very close to comfort. I think I better move away. No, you have no time for that. Your brain would react immediately from the sound that you hear and the closeness, the wind probably that you could hear from the car, and you would jump to safety. So that's the same, that's the part of your brain called the reptilian part that causes you to react this way. Another simple example I can give you is lizard. Look at the lizard that you see on your screen right now. I'm sorry if some of you are disgusted by it. Some of you may not like lizards. I understand you may have a phobia. But for the sake of this example, let's think back of a lizard that you may have seen in your houses. Some of us may still have some lizards running around in our house. Now, when you look at that lizard, what does the lizard do? It just hangs around in one corner doing its own thing and trying to eat some insects. Now, what happens if you, as the owner, go near that lizard, like you walk towards that lizard? What happens? The lizard will just start scrambling, isn't it? It will just start running whichever direction it can run. Now, that is precisely what the lizard is doing. It is reacting. It's never going to say, the lizard is never ever going to say, oh, that's Kelvin. I know Kelvin. He's the owner of this house. It's cool, dude. Don't worry. I'll just stand here and, do my thing. Never, right? The lizard may have been there for a year and Kelvin may have lived there for a year. It sees a human being. It's going to scramble for its life. So that is the fight or flight that I am talking about. So what we as humans often do is we allow this particular part of our brain, right, to take charge. We allow, and that is the part where we act like a lizard. This is the part of the brain that makes us act like lizards, because the reptilian brain is responsible for involuntary actions. So sometimes we react even without realizing. For example, we slap someone or we punch someone. Or we may say something, we may utter a word that is without any thought or without much thought. And these are reactions that that stems from the reptilian part of our brain. Now, why am I showing you this slide and why am I talking about this? Is because I want to show you something today called the circle of tolerance. We want to learn how to increase our circle of tolerance. Each one of us have a different size of tolerance level, right? So once you, at least when you understand this circle, you will understand that you want to continuously improve or increase the size of this circle. So the level of negative stimulus that a person can deal with intelligently before you react. So basically your time bomb. How short is your time bomb? Or how big is it? How far can I push your buttons before you explode? That is your circle of tolerance, in other words. So if you look at the circle of tolerance here, you'll see that I've just put 3 circles, and the outer circle is the bigger circle in this case. The bigger the circle, the bigger or the higher your tolerance level. Because now you want to understand, oh, so-and-so is doing this because this is their colored brain. So-and-so is doing this because these are their primary drivers. That's why they're doing this. So I would react less to the people surrounding me. Now, if you look at the inner circle right there, that is where your circle of tolerance is at its smallest point, where you get ticked off very easily for the smallest things. You lose your temper, you lose your anger, you react. You're basically a lizard. So to sum that, the smaller your circle, the less tolerant you are. And the larger your circle, the more tolerant you are of the people around you, which includes friends, family, colleagues. So our goal here today is to learn and understand and use the understanding of colored brain and, most importantly, your emotional drivers of the people around you, right, to increase our tolerance level, right? So what does this all mean? Before I come towards the end of my talk, what does this all mean? When you have a greater understanding of someone's colored brain and emotional drivers, this increases your circle of tolerance and you will hence have less reaction. You will act less of a lizard. And having less reaction will allow you to develop more intelligent actions, because now you've got a chance to think using the other parts of your brains. And more intelligent actions will help you make better decisions. So you now want to think, should I slap this guy? Should I punch this guy? You're going to think about it. Then you might say, hey, this is not worth it. What if he's doing this because now you're thinking, you're not reacting. And by making better or intelligent decisions, these intelligent decisions gives you less stress at the end of the day. It gives you more effectiveness in the way you work and the way you deal with others. And you'll also notice that you'll have much better or much improved relationships with the people that you work with, the people that you live with, your family, your friends, and the people that you meet. You're going to have improved relationships with them. Now, it is not a magic pill where you take it today and tomorrow everything goes well. It's a learning process. You're going to have to try. You will fail many times. I have failed numerous times. It is continuously learning and remembering how important the emotional drivers of a person are. If you fulfill them, they are your best friend. Trust me. Okay? Test this out and you will see what happens. And most importantly, at the end, this will give you more personal success as well as professional success. So together, let's decide to, starting from this point, to act more intelligently, right? To act less of a lizard. So I believe that the promise I made in the beginning, where these are the 3 things we're going to learn about to break the communication barrier, to get along with others better, and to improve. Even as a boss, I can now treat my colleagues, my subordinates with and understand what their colored brains are, to understand what their emotional drivers are. Why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they coming to work? Why do they come? Why do they want to contribute? Or whatever they do, everything we do has a reason behind it. which ties it back to one of the 8 drivers. Nobody does anything by accident. There's always an underlying reason or a purpose. It's whether we know it and whether we can identify it, but we certainly do it, and it's for a reason. So with that, my friends, is the reason why we do what we do, which is the title of our talk today. All right. So thank you all very much for spending this 1 hour with me. I certainly hope that now that you understand why people do what they do, you will be able to improve your relationships with them. Put it to a test right after this. Start understanding the people around you better, understanding their drivers better. Why are they doing what they're doing? When we know these drivers, our relationships with them will definitely improve. So let me know what you think in the chat. And with that, I would like to thank all of you for your time, for your participation in the polls and the activities we did earlier. And just to also very quickly let you know, I'll give you my contact details, so stick around for a minute or so. We 40 trainers have gotten together with the help of our Sifu, Mr. Nazrin. And we have come up with this virtual learning festival where we have a lineup of 40 trainers who's talking on various topics, 40 topics for 40 hours. So I think today we're on the end, or towards the end of day 2, a couple of days more to go. These are all free webinars. They are all 1 hour webinars, and there's a lot to learn from the expertise of these professionals. So the website's on your screen right now, bit.ly/VL Festival. So do share this with your friends and the people that you work with, and more people can learn under these people. And the next topic, I believe, starts after this at 4 o'clock, and then it continues tomorrow morning again and for the next couple of days. So go to this website and check out. You can join the Zoom or whatever platforms they're using right from the website. So visit this website, please. I think someone has put the website on the link on the chat. It's also there, so you could actually use that. Yes, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, and I'm also a culture consultant. So if you need to get in touch with me, take a snapshot of this, and if you are in any of my groups, then you know how to contact me. So that's my email address, my phone number. You can call or WhatsApp me, and if you'd like to follow me on any of the social medias, including Instagram, that is my Instagram handle. All right, so any questions? I'll take maybe one question from the chat maybe, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can unmute yourself right now and ask the question. You're welcome, Abdul Wahab and Saiful. All right, so we can still be in touch in the groups. So just to give enough time for you to move into the next meeting or the next webinar, I would end my session right now. Thank you all so much for your time. It was a great pleasure sharing with you for once instead of teaching you skills. I hope this is going to benefit you. Thank you. Take care. And for my Muslim friends, Selamat Hari Raya if I don't get a chance to meet each one of you personally. Thank you very much. Cheers.